Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back aboard the Celsius. Last episode, we met an old friend, Klasko. We brought him on board the Edge airship. We've now got two people down there. We've got Owaka also, who is looking to have his debts paid off. We've done almost everything in Chapter 1, which I should clarify. I've wanted to mention this in a fair few episodes now. Chapter 1 is one of the longest chapters in the game. Chapter 2 tends to have like a lot more main story stuff to do and a lot less side stuff. One of the other chapters later is particularly short. Chapter 3 is sort of short too, depending on the way you tackle it. So yeah, this is really quite a long chapter compared to everything else, so don't expect so much side quest roaming. It's just that we've only just come back to Spira, and of course, there's a lot to check out, see, and do. However, pretty much everything is done now, except me and Highroad, Luca, and of course the Xanacan Ruins. That's what we'll be doing today. So we're going to head to the high road. It says that there's no missions here. It says Chocobos used to be the main mode of transport on the high road, but they're gone now, and everyone's using Machina. So do consider this as well, the way the devs might have expected you to explore the world is literally go top down through the list. Of course, we're coming to Luca very late, but this kind of sets up the idea that much of Spira has changed, and it's not always for the better, I suppose. Like, everyone seems to like Chocobos, especially here on the high road. Fans like Chocobos, and they're gone, right? They're not there really at the Calmlands, and they're not here at the high road either, all in favor of Machina, which is a favorable method of transport, but perhaps not as lucrative.
The Mehen High Road, where Crusaders once marched toward battle with sin, while travelers fled from its shadow. I walked this road too, on my pilgrimage to Xanarkand. And you walked by my side. It was a journey filled with laughter.
Oh, that line's quite nice because when we were here in the previous game, if you guys don't remember or you didn't play it, we sort of had a bit of a moment with Yuna where we were very depressed. We were really bummed out. And she kind of told us that, you know, she could be quite depressed a lot of the times too, but she never really let it show. And it was because she wanted to remember the journey as being filled with laughter. And for most of it, in all honesty, it wasn't filled with laughter. It was pretty morbid for a lot of it. But, you know, then they throw this line in here in the sequel, and it kind of shows that even though there were fleeting moments of, you know, real happiness and laughter, she can cling to those and remember those for her journey. I quite like it. Anyway, so check it out. There's some Machina here straight away. In the previous game, I don't think we really found any of these that weren't hostile and trying to kill us. Well, now that we're on the good sides of the Albed and people don't frown at Machina at all, oh look, now that it's legal, it's perfectly fine. This dude over here says hello to us. He says, yes sir, the Mehen High Road sure has changed a lot since the Karam began. I bet you're just dying to hear all about today's high road. And we say, nope. I love how rude you can be with these dismissive responses in this game. Now, how did you know? He says, once upon a time, Chocobo back was the only way to go when traveling the high road. But what are the Chocobo hunting fiends and the steady increase of Albed Machina in these parts? Well, you guessed it. As more and more travelers turned to hovers for transportation needs, Chocobos gradually became a rare sight, changing the face of the high road. On a hover, I had this thing, right, just the other day about how if you, this is totally random, but if you fence off an area of forest, just for like a month even, and you fence it off so that basically deer can't get through, then it becomes like filled with incredible like dense shrubbery, if obviously it's in the height of summer, and like it's a massive difference. Like you wouldn't expect it, but most forested areas, obviously there's exceptions depending on where you are in the world and whether it's deciduous or not, but most forested areas, especially if they have deer in them, are drastically changed as soon as the deer go away. And I kind of like to think that even though there's been this drastic change on the high road here, it would be reflected a little bit more in the terrain just based on that story with the deer. Anyway, this guy says, on a hover, you can quickly and safely reach your destination. What's more, the travel agency has installed sentry Machina along the high road to ensure your safe passage. Well, that's the gist of it. Take a look around and see for yourself. Well, there are a lot of Machina here. If we repeat talk to him, he says, yes, sir. He says the same thing. So we're going to say no this time. He doesn't even do us the service of responding to us. So here, this lady, she used to be... actually, she's an Albed, right? So maybe she isn't the same. But she's standing at the same place where we used to catch Chocobo rides across the high road. And we've got a choice now whether we actually want to ride the hover straight away. You can skip the whole thing. I'm actually going to say no. Now, don't, you know, worry yourselves too much. Yes, there are random encounters as we go. But don't forget, last episode we did deliberately get that charm bangle. And this is going to be very useful for us. Here we've got Fearer, so we can do some crazy damage now. because these enemies are actually weak to it. We're going to kill the two wolves, and if you remember in the previous game, there was a blue bullet called, well, it wasn't a blue bullet back then. It was a Ronso Rage called Seed Cannon. Oh, well, never mind. We just nuked that guy because I killed the wolf before Riku could do anything. We'll Sleepy Shuffle here. Well, I don't think these guys have got a follow-up version of that anymore, so you don't have to worry too much. You don't have to stand here and wait for them to cast it on you. But that's basically the way that the Blue Mage works. If the enemy uses an ability against you, then you learn that skill. It's unlike with Komari where you would lance it, the skill off of them. You have to have them cast it on you, and this changes the way you get certain abilities. Like protective abilities, White Wind and Mighty Guard, enemies will never willingly use on you, so you have to resort to different techniques. Anyway, so yeah, we are going to travel up the high road. There may be a fair deal of cut-in of a couple of encounters, and then I'll just equip the Charm Bangle. Here you see an Iron Giant here. We never saw these guys, like, coming this far down before. Maybe they've been offset from the Thunder Plains now that the fires are no longer there? Kind of a cool idea. Really, we should have a warrior here who could armor break this person. But as you can see, he's not very resistant to fire damage anyway, and so we can knock him out.
It's a wrap.
Oh, that pose, Riku. So there we go. And yeah, basically there's just a bunch of chests you can get. Many guides I have found online actually suggest that you come to the Mihen High Road before anything else in the entire game, and you just run along, getting grind on the fiends and picking up chests. You also get, obviously, a fair amount of information about Spira from the various people along the road. This lady says, almost nobody walks the high road anymore, at least since the Hobbits started service, so I guess the Sentry Machina aren't really needed anymore, but at least they work. You mean they're not needed? Well, they're machines, so they don't... Well, I guess they would rust and get tired eventually. The Albert Sentry Machina were designed to exterminate fiends on the high road. Thing is, there was this mishap once where they mistook passerbys for fiends and attacked. Now, I've just pressed square on this person, and oh look, you remember? We can publicize Open Air Ink, Argent, or we can do some matchmaking. So let's see what this lady said again. You can bet the Albed were quick to reprogram the Machina. Now they only react to large fiends. It's up to us to deal with the smaller ones. So this is why we have these. Now, with that in mind, what do you think she's going to be most responsive to? Fun awaits you at Open Air? Take to the air, Open Air. Open Air, get your air on. I lost 30 pounds with Open Air. See you at Open Air, yes? She doesn't strike me as a lady that likes Hypello that much, or even maybe as a lady that likes to have fun, because she is here just sort of clearing away small fiends. So maybe she's got to be fit for her job, so maybe she lost 30 pounds with Open Air? Ah, she seems pretty psyched. There you go. Boom, we got it. Nice. That's a pretty high score there. So we just raised their publicity rating. We can also try matchmaking with her. So, find your better half. I have the perfect person for you. The heir to Argent Ink needs a fiancé. Do the man of your dreams awaits, or do you believe in destiny? So I don't know. This is a little bit harder, I guess. Maybe I'm not such a romantic, but perhaps we'll tell her that the heir to Argent Ink needs a fiancé because she wants that security, right? Like, why should she believe us if we just say that we have the perfect person for her? So let's see. She doesn't seem interested. Wah wah. Okay, well, next, after time passes, we can come back and remember our responses here and try again. This lady also you can talk to, and you'll get the same options. It would have been amazing if every character in the game had different options. So you don't have to read them out every time. But, you know, so you can just pick one here. Again, what did she say? I want to kind of, in the LP, always do it on an actual judgment of who they are as an NPC. If you're walking, do keep an eye out for fiends. The presence of Machina isn't always enough to keep them away. So, take to the air, Open Air. They seem totally pumped. Amazing. We did pretty good. It looks like both of them want to go check out Open Air. And I'm going to ask her if she believes in destiny. She seems really excited, yes! You shouldn't believe in destiny, by the way. I don't believe in destiny. But yeah, okay, so there we go. We're done with those two, and we will move on. Random encounter, lovely. Charm Bangle will be going on pretty soon. Just want to give you guys an idea of the Fiend variety. So here's a Garuda. Something kind of funny behind the scenes-y, I guess. One of the first enemies you fight in Besaid in Final Fantasy X is a Garuda. And when I was fighting that Garuda, I was explaining to you guys stuff about the sphere grid, I think. Maybe even overkills. For some reason in my mind, whenever I think of Final Fantasy X-2, and I think of the fact that there are over souls in this game instead of overkills, it always makes me think of Garuda. I think there was a situation when I was a lot younger. He guards from darkness here, so it's very different to the old versions, right? I think there was a situation when I was a lot younger where maybe the first truly difficult oversoul I fought was an oversouled Garuda in this chapter on the Mihen High Road. And so I was kind of excited to just tell you guys about that. Not now in X2, but even back when I was recording Final Fantasy X, it was like on the tip of my tongue. Like, you wouldn't believe the amount of things that are just floating around that I want to talk about, and you've got to push them to the side, right? And it's kind of weird. And that was just there. That was totally something I really, really wanted to mention. I even edited out like some kind of a stutter, and the whole stutter was brought on about the fact that I considered saying it and then I didn't in the end. And it's just odd to me that that has stuck in my head. Can't really remember specifically killing any other oversold fiend in the entire game except these guys. And so you might think it takes ages to get an oversoul on these. We'll try, well, silence doesn't do anything. I shouldn't have done that. I should have tried the sleepy shuffle. You might think to yourself, well, it would take a long time to find an oversoul of this dude, right? Well, that's not necessarily true. As I said, different species of different fiends have different amounts you've got to kill before you will find them in oversoul form. And, you know, this guy won't necessarily take so long. Let's see if we can send him to sleep. I don't remember sending one of these to sleep in the entire previous game. That's one of those things, again, I'd love to be able to show off. I'd love to be able to show off, like, the sleeping animation of everyone, but it's not going to happen. Alright, down he goes. We're back towards this thing with the Machina. If you remember before, there was a clue for one of the Owlbed scavenger hunts you could find here. Of course, we can't interact with that anymore. That's going to be the last random encounter here. I'll cut it out. It's another Garuda as well. Unless he oversouls. For what it's worth as well, oversouling, it's actually an enemy's turn. So they won't oversoul at the start of the fight. If they can be oversouled, if the Fireflies can go into them, I'm using the wrong ability again. If it is in that situation, then the first ability they use will be the action of oversouling. Which means you can do a ton of damage to an enemy, and then it will oversoul on its first turn, and it will restore all of its health, cleanse everything, and so on. Pain's going to go down very soon. Sleepy Shuffle, go.
This is a little embarrassing.
Alright, there we go. That's Charm Bangle equipped. We'll move on up. And I think I did just miss a chest in that Owlbed Ruin thing. But at this point, where we've basically been everywhere throughout Chapter 1, we're quite familiar with many of the items we'll be getting. That's the circlet accessory, which we've already got as we were running around elsewhere. He says, hey, are you walking down the high road? Now there's something I haven't seen in a while. What's wrong with that? Well, I'm here to publicize to you. So these are small little things you can do to incentivize players to come down these areas. Fun awaits you at open air. They seem put off. Wow. He did. Actually, do you know what? I shouldn't have said that, because he does seem like a bit of a douchebag, right? Oh, he says, me? Well, you see, I sort of lost my wallet. How did you lose your wallet here? What were you doing out in the middle of nowhere in the bushes where no one would find you? Yeah, he seemed like a douche though. I'm just passing by and he comes out and judges me. I should have, I don't know, I should have done something like, she would open air, yes? Matchmaking. So, I mean, the game doesn't shy away from this. You don't have to talk to ladies about this. You can talk to the fellows. And I believe one of the outcomes actually does have a guy going to him. So, because there are various outcomes depending on how well you do with it. So, find your better half. I have the perfect person for you. The heir to Argent needs a fiancé. The man of your dreams awaits. Or do you believe in destiny? The man of your dreams awaits. Strange, he doesn't seem interested. That is strange, right? Alright, so we'll progress on up. This is the next map over here. Alright, so next map here, if you remember once upon a time we kicked a ball here. We also met a few characters on the high road. This in the previous game was a real area that would teach you about many of the different people who ended up going a long way on your journey. One of them we haven't met, actually a few of them we haven't met again 2 years later, so keep an eye out. This person says, if you got kicked by one of these, you need a lot more than first aid. Yeah, we had these things. We were fighting these in Bevel 2 years ago, and they would, like, eject us and stuff. You don't think that they'd ever attack us by mistake, do you? No, come on, they're just machines. I don't trust the Machina any more than the Owlbed who bought them. Wow, dude. Stop being so racist. That was just Yevon stuff. I can't publicize to him. That was just Yevon stuff. And if you're worried about Machina going, like, rampaging around, do think about the movie I, Robot. That would be a good suggestion for me. It tells you about the 3 laws of, like, robotics. Can never be broken. This fellow here, you can't really interact with. There is a thing later in the game where you can press X on the Machina and you'll find, like, repair manuals and stuff that help you do stuff elsewhere, like stuff to do with Jose, which is pretty cool. Anyway, another screen. There wasn't too much on that one. It felt a bit shorter in this game than maybe it was in 10. Here we've got a hover that someone's got set up, but this isn't one of the big ones. This is more one of the sleds. I swear the hovers they use as transportation here are so big, they barely fit on the roads. This lady says, my job is to keep an eye on the Machina deployed on the high road. I mean, if anything happened, we'd have a real mess on our hands. Yes, well, okay. Maybe you should go and have some fun. Open air. Get your air on. What do you mean you put off? You work with hovers and stuff. Get your air on, that works. Matchmaking, find your better half. You've turned her off. Wow, we did really bad with her. Let's try and remember that next time. Oh, I'm not going to remember this stuff. I warn you guys now. I'm not going to remember it. If you've got fantastic memories and you're sitting there, maybe you've got a little notepad open right now and you're like, okay, this was the response from this person, this person, this person. I will get it wrong. I will repeat stuff in subsequent chapters. And, you know, I might get perfect responses from people and then forget what those were. But that's part of the fun of the game, I think. Anyway, 3 little Machina here. I have a feeling something cool happens here. She says, oh, hello. What are you doing over here? We're experimenting to see if we can synchronize the highroad Machina. Don't tell anyone you've seen this. What do you mean synchronize? Like internet? Like local area networks? Interesting. There is definitely a thing. In my test files, did not come here. But I remember these guys like all dancing together or something at some point. It's kind of bizarre. We'll keep an eye out for that. We'll have a look later. Maybe it's a hidden thing where you talk to them long enough or you stand there long enough. We'll see. Okay, a guy over here too and another chest. And I guess we'll just keep walking up. It's funny, guys. I've recorded an episode of 10-2 pretty much every day since we've started. Except like a long, like big thing I had to do where I had to complete the game to create New Game Plus. And I'm always so enthused to record every single episode, but I have to come to terms with something about myself. And that's the fact that if I stop doing something, even very briefly, I lose so much motivation. So yesterday, I didn't record an episode of X-2. Now, they'll still have daily uploads and stuff. That'll be fine. But because I didn't record on just one day, I felt my enthusiasm plummet, like completely plummet. It's really bizarre. I wonder if you guys get that as well. Anyway, here's a Luca goer. Oh, maybe a reject for the team since he's not at Luca or anything. Mind you, it is the off-season for Blitz, so who knows. This guy says, you want to ride the hover? Well, that's just too bad, ain't it? What do you mean? You can leave now. What? You are a douche. So, what? I need like a default douchebag response for people. Maybe I should treat all the douchebags like Hypello. See you at open air, yes? They don't seem the least bit interested. No. Matchmaking. What's the douchebag response here? I don't know. The heir to Argent Inc. needs a fiance. I expect douches to be more money driven and thus more responsive to this kind of thing. Strange, he doesn't seem interested. Do you know what? I actually think I'm wrong. I think you can't matchmake to men. I think they're all uninterested. It just appears on the option regardless. I will edit that on the screen because I feel like I've made a big gaffe there. I actually think you can't do it to them, which kind of sucks, but there is still an outcome where a guy appears, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, let's move on. That's the first half of the high road. Just some people to talk to, some enemies to kill if you came here first, some chests to collect, and boy are there a lot. Here we are at the highroad, at the travel agency. We could have totally chosen this as a hover location. There's a few things to consider here. First of all is this place over here, of course, where there was that wonderful scene with the sunset in the previous game. This person over here says, the high road feels so empty without the chocobos around. I know hovers are faster, but a chocobo, now that is poetry in motion. I've always kind of wondered what it would be like in England to, like, I don't know, go somewhere far away, not necessarily the whole length of the country or all of Britain necessarily, all of UK, but some long distance that normally I would go by car or by train on like a motorway, and instead just do it on horseback. Like, that's such a British thought, but I've always thought it would be interesting. I guess that's kind of what this guy's talking about. Okay, he knows hovers are faster. Let's try matchmaking to him, see if it's the same response. Yeah, he doesn't seem interested. You totally can't matchmake to guys. Oh well, I guess the game isn't that progressive, guys. Sorry, we're only in 2002 at the moment, 2003. Fun awaits you at open air. They seem totally pumped. Awesome, that seems like a good default. Now, a lot of the times throughout this series, we have come to areas where Yuna could make a jump that Tidus would otherwise need an airship for. You'll be happy to hear that Yuna can jump 700 foot off into the distance over the ocean just by holding... No, she can't. So this is one situation where you can't go back over there. I'm sorry to announce to you guys. Alright, let's head into the agency. Notice how we found a lot of agencies, but we haven't actually seen Rin anywhere. Rin was the proprietor of these places, owned the company. Also played Blitzball in the previous game. At the end, you could recruit him. Gave us some phenomenal items. Taught us as Tidus Albed. I don't know whether I mentioned in the LP. Yeah, I know I cut it out of the first episode. But I think it's really cool how in this game, you are relearning Albed, but it's okay because before Yuna never learned Albed. Someone did mention in the comments that it's kind of weird that Riku obviously knows it and she never translates for you. But I really like that. You know, you teach Titus Albed in the first game, you teach Yuna in the second game. So here, this lady say, hey, is that Machina still looking this way? I think so, yeah. She says, I think it's watching me. This is so creepy. It's just I get the feeling it might attack if I were to move. Maybe I should sit still so I don't make it angry. God, you people are so intimidated. Look, you just use steel on it anyway and it will break. If you interact with it, the lady at the counter says, I'm sorry, that's not for sale. What do you mean? I'll buy it. I could buy this entire shop. I have so much money. I've got 270,000 gil. I could pay off Walker's debt right now, but I refuse to. And this guy says, hey, did you get to ride the hovers yet? We say, no, should we? He says, life's an adventure. Maybe you should try them out. The hovers can even navigate the narrow path of the new road. If they put me behind the wheel, I'd probably take the whole thing right off the cliff. Man, that just makes me think about the way buses work. Alright, I guess we can't actually give him the other option. If you say yes, which I did on my test file, he's like, yeah, they're amazing. And that's pretty much it. This lady over here says what's for sale. But yeah, buses are crazy, man. Like, especially on some of the narrow roads you have here. It's kind of weird to think that you literally are putting your life into the hands of this person. Buses are so flimsy and easy to break and stuff if they get in any crash. You'll see that we got a bunch of stuff. HP by 20%, MP by 40%, gauntlets, strength and defense by +5. This is like the bad version of the muscle belt. And a tiara. All items that we can largely ignore at this point. So yeah, no Rin there either. That was the main place we first met Rin before. We're not quite done at the agency. If you do pay attention, you'll see you can still run around the back of it. This was something available in the previous game, but you never had to do. Well, here you can see a bunch of malfunctioning Machina just all sort of stood around here. And an Albed tech who is programming them. He says, I'm programming these Machina. Okay. They can be a touchy bunch, but all they need is an extra little TLC. Know what I mean? Maybe you need some TLC at open air. See, that should be an option. I can't publicize to them. That kind of sucks. I never publicize to the guys in the shop either, but whatever. Again, another person arranging for transport. I will show you guys the cutscenes for riding the hovers. So let's go back to the south exit. This was, again, there were a few things that I've told you guys already that used to get me very excited about the game when I was following it from pre-release. And Killicle was one of them, but they also released a trailer or a cutscene of this, of the hover going along the high road. Now, before the game came out, and with my wild imagination as a young person, I had no idea what this meant, but I had these crazy, lofty dreams that perhaps it meant you could drive around on the Mihen high road in this game. And I remember Pain, her stance there, she stands there all calm. It sent me through the roof with excitement. I was buzzing so much, and then the game came out and I just realised it was like a fast travel thing. But by then you're so swept away with everything else the game has to offer, you don't really care anymore. But yeah, that sticks out to me as well. It's kind of, I don't know whether I feel bad or not, but now as an adult, or as having, I guess, just spent more time with games in general, and my expectations are far more moderate, it's hard to have that raw, just crazy, pumped enthusiasm. The only game I've had in recent years for that, like incredibly pumped, is probably Guild Wars 2. And even that's like 2 years old now, right? I guess the next big game on my horizon would be Grimrock 2, and I saw a trailer of that and it looked amazing as well. But still, like, I know that that's made by an indie company, and it's not gonna have, like, all this crazy, boundless, insane stuff that, you know, that I had no concept of limits before, and now they're there, even for a game I'm super excited to play. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I think a big thing that did damage to me was when I started modding Oblivion, and you really get behind the scenes and you realise just how shallow stuff is. Like, you realise the mechanics of how this map I'm looking at right now works. How if that texture of that cliff there wasn't there, I would just be looking off into infinity. Like, completely just breaks the immersion, just to know that at all times. You have to try and ignore it. Anyway, there's this lady over here. I'm rambling. We can publicise to her, but let's talk to her first. She says, Pop quiz! Why do you think there's a Machina over there? Now, you can pick right or wrong here. It's largely inconsequential. It doesn't do anything for percentage. You don't even get an item for getting everything right. But what do you think? Why is that over there? Well, it says maybe it's on watch. Yeah, that could make sense. It's been a very bad boy or doing something. Well, this is kind of a bit of an enigma, right? I really like this because it does make you stop and just think for a second, like, wait, what? Why is that there? You know, like, you could walk past a million things like this in a game and not really think twice. It's just like, oh, that's kind of quirky. Why is that over there? Well, I think an NPC alluded to the answer to this question earlier on the high road. Maybe you guys can guess. We can't actually answer it in exact terms here. I guess the closest thing is, it being on watch would make sense. And I don't think it's technically wrong. So we'll just say maybe it's on watch. She says, oh, so close. So we get another shot, and we can say, well, maybe it was built there. So it doesn't get in the way, or because I said so. Well, because it doesn't get in the way. And she says, right, exactly, but in the way of what? And the answer is the hovers, chocobos, egg. What the hell? I mean, I'm going to pick egg. The answer the answer is hovers, okay? She says, what are you talking about? Oh, wow, okay, so we can just keep trying. I never realized this. So I'll say doing something this time. She says, boozed, wrong. Wow, okay, so that is the right answer. Yeah, okay, good. So maybe it's on watch. She says, so close. And then you can say, so it doesn't get in the way. It was not built there. And so that it doesn't get in the way of hovers. Ding, 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 ding. That's right. Look how narrow the road is. It's no easy chore to steer a hover through here. That's why they can't have Machina running along the road. And that's also why our friend is camping out over there. If there's an emergency, he'll jump over to the road to help. Probably. Huh. Well, emergencies mean big fiends, right? What did we see last game in terms of big fiends? Chocobos, really. And they're not really random encounters. I'll draw your attention to something too. Last game, if we were riding a chocobo here, we could jump off into the distance there. Yuna can't do that. She can't even pace a chocobo, so you can't hold circle. You also notice the little platform that the Machina is stood on has become a part of the map. So, but we can't jump over there because there's the Machina on it. So keep an eye on that, and later on in the game, maybe we can do something there. There's another Machina here. Can't interact with it. And that's pretty much all that the new road has to offer. I guess I'll give us one encounter on it. God, the encounter rate is so low. There we go. Amazing. Alright, so here you'll notice we've got a slightly different Fiend variety. We have an Evil Eye here. I'm going to Sleepy Shuffle. Pain's going to attack the Fly Eye. And Riku will Fear on the Flan. And we're just going to own them. So there we go. They're asleep. Pain will physically attack the Fly Eye. And there we go. Pretty easy. And obviously, the only reason I did this was so you guys could see that battle scene up there. Get a Black Choker. Easy candidate for selling. And I'll see you guys on the next map. In case, you know, knowing me, we'll get another encounter on our way up there now. Yep. Just like that.
So what's next?
One thing I haven't really demonstrated to you guys that I was going to in the LP is, you know how Songstress can't attack? If you use Assault, which berserks her, she will actually start to physically attack. But because the Songstress is designed as a class to give you really low strength stats, she'll still do barely any damage. But she will run forward and bop people on the head with a microphone. I had an idea at one point of doing a setup where we had Warrior, Songstress, and then like something else. But I probably won't do that now. Anyway, so there's a bunch of people here, and you'll actually find these guys talking about the chocobos. Now, this is a random NPC, but you'll see his name is actually Prophet, okay? So this guy will be a little bit more significant later, remember. So Prophet's voice, he's like a hippie, okay? And he says, I'm campaigning for the return of our beloved chocobos to the Mihen highroad. It's really a hippie voice. He's just like, I want everyone to agree with me. So I stopped passing by to spread the news. Like, chocobos are so cool. Everyone calls me Prophet because of my work to usher in the future. And I'm proud of that moniker. Like, I spread my wisdom to all those who heed my call. Okay, alright, so that's why he's called Prophet. He's looking into the future. Sure, well, good luck with that, bro. I mean, hovers are just better. People won't go back to horseback because cars are awesome. And we get radio and stuff. I was on my way back to the Youth League headquarters and ran into these two. Great, I guess he doesn't really like them. And she says, I work with this gentleman in fighting for chocobo rights. We'd gladly go to any ends to bring the chocobos back. We can't advertise to any of these people because they're all lame. We can advertise to this Machina, who will head over and play some games. No, that's not true. This little kid actually has more interesting stuff to say than you might at first expect. He says, hey, cutie, you're a traveler, right? How about I teach you a thing or two? He just called us cutie. Yes, absolutely. So we'll say sure, kid. He says, up until not too long ago, there were tons of chocobos on the high road for travelers to ride on. But now everyone rides hovers instead. No one needs chocobos anymore. Plus, there are fiends around which eat chocobos. So you don't need any chocobos around that much these days. Just lots and lots and lots and lots of Machina. The Machina dot the high road, but they're just patrolling. So you don't have to worry about getting attacked or nothing. Well, how'd I do? You did great. You also broke my voice, so I'm not going to be doing that very much anymore. Let's go to the old road now. Okay, we've got the charm bangle, so there's no worry. Now, an NPC will warn us very quickly here that there is, quite honestly, nothing to do down here. But I also seem to remember some weird trivia or some fact that I was going to talk to you guys about here. So, let's have a look. This guy here, he says, "Aren't you the High Summoner? I used to be a priest of Yevon. I saw you and Luca once when escorting the Grand Maester." This is the kind of thing, and it shouldn't get to me. Okay, and then he says, "This road leads to a dead end, just so that you know. Don't come back here later complaining that I didn't want you." This is the kind of thing, okay, that shouldn't get to me, but it does, and that's the fact that if I knew this guy was here in X when we had that cutscene where we saw Maester Micah and Luca and one of the guards, right, I could have been like, "Oh, you see this guy again in 10-2. And it's so stupid, nobody needed to know that, but because he's such a random NPC and guides and stuff and trivia, and I hadn't played this game for so long, mentions his dialogue, like, you can't. It's just not feasible, but yeah. Anyway, see a bunch more stuff to jump around. Again, Machina sort of blocking our path. It definitely looks like Una should be able to climb those, right? I mean, a chocobo wasn't that much better, but again, we cannot make those jumps in 10-2. There was a little baby chocobo eater. Did you see? Oh my god, they're so cute. So this game really will go into a lot more depth about fiends, which it rightly should. I mean, they're such a big part of the game of what you're fighting. And again, I think overall, even though this game is much more lighthearted and whatever, ultimately, especially once the story really starts going... Wait, we don't even have the charm bangle equipped? I think ultimately you guys will find that it still very much plays on this idea of what do we have when we have a world where death functions so differently. I'm actually going to escape here. Mainly because Riku doesn't have any MP left and I don't see the point in wasting an ether. And it's still about death and it's still about the process of creating fiends and what is the far plane and stuff like that. Anyway, so there we go. That's the charm bangle back on. Funnily enough, there is a save sphere right here I could have used. I guess we'll use that to reboard the airship in a second. More Machina up there. We'll keep going along to the dead end. This lady here says, "I'm a part-time ranger here. What was it again? What do you mean? Whoa. Oh yeah, please be aware that this road leads to a dead end." Who paid you to say that? Okay, well, she seems kind of forgetful. Seems like she might like to procrastinate. Oh, yes. So, let's say she would open air. They seem put off. Nobody likes the Hypello result, damn it. And we can also tell her that I found the perfect person for her, and we have piqued her curiosity. So the fun thing about that game is now, when I come back to her, I can be like, right, do I want to, like, gamble and see if I can find a better response, or do I want to stick with the tried and tested piquing her curiosity? Is piquing her curiosity loads and loads of times enough to actually make her want to go and see the man? Well, we will see. 2 softs in the chest here. Again, still limited in what we can climb and when. And we are almost back to where we would have got knocked down from the chocobo eater in the previous game. I really think there's just a chest here now and little else to do. Oh, no, there's 2 dudes to talk to. This guy says, "Hadn't met you somewhere before. You look mighty familiar, you do." Wow, this is a real hillbilly. I can't remember. You tell me you remind me of, eh? Well, I'd rather not because you seem kind of, I don't know, scary. "You walked all the way out here? That went too swift, what?" Love it. Okay, yeah, it didn't take that long. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's the Machina High Road. Just a bit of completionist stuff. Obviously, when we come back here in future chapters, I will not be doing the whole road. Just sort of showing you guys how it's developed, and we'll come here again as things change. I will see you guys at Luca for our last destination. Actually, I won't see you at Luca because there's something hilarious. This made me laugh my ass off when I was test filing. So we just went to the high road, right? And what was it most about? It was about the fact that the chocobos are gone now because there's Machina everywhere. You talk to Riku here. What a ditch. She says, "Hey, how come there weren't any chocobos on the high road? Were you not paying any attention?" This is why she doesn't translate our bed for us. She doesn't pay any attention. Payne over here says, "I'm glad we made it back before dusk. I don't like the high road sunset." Now, some of you guys have started to notice she's a bit of a loner quite consistently. And this may just seem like one of those fluffy lines they throw in again to make her seem kind of deep. I will just clarify, though, there is a very specific part of her past that revolves around the high road and that sunset you can witness there. So don't just take that as some light, stupid, you know, not to be taken seriously. Because I'd certainly be getting to that point too myself. Alright, our last location is Luca. Now, straight away on the airship destination list, you can see it says that there is a mission. It says real commotion, question mark. Luca, city of pleasure, Una-hungry crowds packed the stadium. But what did they get? But did they get what they paid for? The true story behind the music. This is probably one of the campiest, most happy things in all of X2, and it will explain the crazy intro we had.
Lady Yuna! Your concert was incredible!
Would you sign this, please? Single file, no pushing. The Gullwings at your service.
I couldn't bring myself to tell them it was just an imposter. The whole mess started with the garment grid. That's the invention that lets us harness the dress sphere's power.
Oh yeah. So again, like that, even that line just makes you realize, oh, they probably expected you to come here pretty quick. So the mission is behind the scenes. Retrace Yuna's steps during her Imposters concert in Luca. The truth is out there, find it. Objective, learn the whole story behind the concert.